Well, Assassin's Creed Shadows is now saying they're listening to good and warranted criticism. This is something they always do when they will refuse to listen to good and warranted criticism because they want to attack the gamers and they want to pretend like the criticism that's going on with the game is not good and warranted, that it's invalid somehow, that the critics out there are just bad actors. And when they say this, that's the implication. It's actually a subversive attack on gamers. It's not actually them being open to any kind of criticism or whatnot. Assassin's Creed Shadows has been full of a complete disaster, and they know it. The reason it's been delayed for so long is the critics were right. This is a game that is a disaster that nobody wants. It's not looking very good for the team out there, and there's some interesting developments. It looks like a Chinese firm is looking to take over Ubisoft, and there was a conspiracy theory going around last year that's kind of looking like it's true. So imagine that. That seems to happen a lot more than not these days. So please, as we get into this, hit the like and subscribe button. Join us here as we talk about all things in gaming. Assassin's Creed Shadows is coming up just around the corner, and you want to get your gaming news from Fandom Pulse. Fandom Pulse is the place for pop culture and entertainment journalism. We have this right here. We cover everything. Books, video games, movies and TVs, comics, tabletop games, celebrities. It's all right here. And it's the most trusted name in entertainment news for a reason, because we just tell the truth that nobody else will, because we don't have advertisers or anything like that. So sign up. It's in the description below. And also, we do have paid versions if you would like to support us. We really would appreciate it. We do this full time, and we just totally live off of users like you, making sure that we could do this without advertising. So thank you for being here and supporting our work. All right, so yes, this came out last week about Assassin's Creed Shadows creative director wanting to listen to good and warranted criticism. Now, we've seen what's happened across this game from the Japanese gamers rioting about this, because the entire intention of this was supposed to be to, quote, present a Japanese historical game, but then modernize it for their favorite modern audiences, so by having a black protagonist and like a gay woman protagonist, so that all you have is black and gay. That is what the DEI agenda always has been in every single game. We've seen this happening across the board, and of course, most recently with Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, where they inserted a black guy into Bohemian Court, who's the brilliant man who's better than everybody else, and of course inserted like gay pornography into it in order to try to force gamers to watch that kind of thing. Absolutely sick. But this is what Assassin's Creed has been about all the time. They have these homo romancing options with your favorite black samurai and all of this, and they have been pushing that agenda for a long, long time. Well, what this does is actually just throw a wrench into their historical elements, because Japanese society didn't have any of this stuff. There was no black samurai. This was all made up and fake by white liberals in the West, as usual. This is what always happens with the game. And they wanted this. This has been in development for a long, long time. This came right out of Black Lives Matter. They thought, you know what, we'll make our black samurai protagonist, and we'll get some golf claps from Sweet Baby Inc. and all those people in the industry. It's going to go great. They didn't realize that gamers were going to push back so hard and actually change society at this point. And so they just put a big stall on the game. If you've noticed, their marketing recently has downplayed Yasuke, the black samurai, and made him very, very small in all the images out there, so you're not supposed to notice that you're going to play as this character this entire time. Now, they had other problems in it, including stealing an image from a Japanese historical wargaming group out there, and their flag that they inserted into their collector's edition booklet. Without permission. On top of that, they've added a bunch of Chinese assets into the back of the game, claiming it was Japanese cultures, which upset Japanese gamers quite a bit. Japanese gamers signed a petition to cancel this game. More than 100,000 people did. So is that real criticism? Is that valid criticism? I don't know. But it gets weirder with the China connection, because they actually then, after all the controversies for their localizations for the Japanese language, actually went to China and had Chinese translators working on the game. You know exactly why they did it, because it was cheaper. Yay! Yes, let's cheap things out and actually not even get the Japanese language localizations correct. Absolutely crazy that Ubisoft would do this. Now, Ubisoft's shares have plummeted like crazy. Their stock price has just been in the toilet. And a lot of what was talking about last year was that some of this might have been intentional, that they might have been intentionally tanking the stock prices so that they could have a group come in as an investor, buy it out on the cheap, and those guys could make a lot of money on the rebound, because they have these huge properties that are big IPs that they can just cash in on the namesake from here on out. And some of their strategies going forward look like that. They mentioned last year that Ubisoft's going to be out there and they're going to be making a lot more remakes of their original games, something that actually does very, very well for a lot of these companies. We've seen huge numbers for remakes for, of course, the Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is one of the biggest ones ever. And, of course, they had similar for Dragon Quest, the 2D, 3D remake as well. All this stuff's been coming out, and gamers are eating it up because they love the classic games. They want them in HD, so there's no reason to play anything new because these new ones don't offer anything that's useful. Now, this entire time, they lied. They said they were cleaning up bugs and cleaning up the parkour mechanics for some reason. I don't know what was happening with that. But they claimed that was what they were doing when they were really trying to change the game as drastically as they possibly could so that gamers would not be stuck with this Yatsuke thing. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. There's reports now that indicate a Chinese firm Tencent is bidding for control of Ubisoft and their properties like Assassin's Creed. And so what's happening with this is now that Ubisoft's been in financial turmoil, when it's very clear that this game's going to underperform, if you look at the most recent wish lists out there, it's barely scraping the top 50, which is not good. I mean, this is Assassin's Creed's like a brand that's really bigger than Star Wars. I'm not exaggerating on that front. If you go to any GameStop, they've got Assassin's Creed posters everywhere in the front of them. This is supposed to be the biggest release of the year. It's supposed to be huge. This is one of the biggest brands out there, and they've really torched it. And so they've spent so much money on this game. There's talk of it being around $400 million. They need to make back a lot in order to do this, and they're not going to at those levels. Even if the game's like played by a lot of people. They need a lot more. They need it to be a number one hit, and that's not what is looking like is happening right here. So Ubisoft's, their trends of financial problems seem to have been leading towards this, and people are reporting that Tencent is going to be taking over operations of games like Assassin's Creed in the future because of this. Now, this is what I heard last year, was that this was an intentional tanking so that Tencent could come in and take this over. So there's been rumbling for a while. I thought it was just rumors. I thought it was just a conspiracy theory because, this is like, why would they tank a game like Assassin's Creed? That doesn't make sense. But maybe they did because now it looks like they're actually coming in and they maybe are going to be taking over Ubisoft all the way around. And the people who own it now are going to be taking a backseat while these investors come in from China and then do this. And this then makes sense as to why they've been doing all this virtue signaling with China, right? Why would you throw Chinese assets into the game? Well, if you're working with China, if you're working with Chinese developers, that makes a lot of sense. Why would you then go to studios to do your localizations in China when you're trying to get a Japanese language going? Well, you're trying to, of course, pay the Chinese people who are working with your partners in order to do that. It all starts to come together at this point, and it seems like it's not a conspiracy theory now that we're looking at this. Now, Tencent already in September 2022 acquired 49.9% of the share of the company, so right under any controlling interest. They came in and they bought most of it. They have a 5% voting rights with Ubisoft's parent company, Guillemot Brothers Limited. Now, these are the private folk that actually own most of the equity in all of this stuff, and as you can see, they've got some voting rights in there as well. Now it looks like they're working on a complete takeover. So this is pretty interesting that's going on right here. Ubisoft's been looking for investors to come in and right this ship of gaming company, which will require taking control of several of its IPs, including Assassin's Creed. Nothing's been finalized, but Ubisoft is collecting bids, and it's going to be deciding before the end of the month. Now, what's interesting on the timing of this is Assassin's Creed's going to come out. We're going to see what the release numbers are, and then the bids are going to come in, and that's when they're going to decide on the actual bids. So it looks like what's happening with Assassin's Creed is they're going to get a baseline for what the actual brand's worth just on the name Assassin's Creed alone. Because, again, this is a game that gamers don't want, Assassin's Creed fans don't want. And they'll see, okay, so what is our baseline that, like, people will just buy it just because of the brand name? That's good for the bidders who then come in and go, okay, so this is what we can bid the company at, and we can make a lot more profit when we actually right the ship. Pretty interesting on that level. So the company, Tencent, will then come in and be a majority shareholder at this point, expanding their base of operations. And they're limited right now in how the company manages itself. It would absolutely change where Tencent would control at this juncture. So this is from Q3 financials from Ubisoft as well. They said the review of various transformational, strategic, and capitalistic options is now ongoing. The board has established an ad hoc independent committee to oversee this formal and competitive process. That's the bidding so far as to extract the best value from Ubisoft's assets and franchise for all stakeholders. The committee is composed of 3 independent directors chaired by a lead independent director Claude, France. As previously indicated, Ubisoft will inform the market in accordance with applicable regulations once a transaction materializes. So it looks like this is going through. Like I said, it's open to other bidders as well. But Tencent seems to be in the position to be taking this lead and taking things over. This could radically transform Ubisoft. I don't like it, honestly. I mean, the Asian developers are doing better these days, but they tend to produce a little bit more on the slop level, and I think that's what we'd get out of Ubisoft, and it's just going to be a brand extraction, and that's what we'll see going forward. Can't be as bad as Assassin's Creed Shadows, though, can it? All right, leave a comment down below with what you think about this. Hit the like and subscribe button. Please support Fandom Pulse in the description below. Thank you. We'll be back soon.